Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Randy.
You got him.
Hey, man, this is Perry in the morning at the Octopus Radio in Ventura.
Hey, Perry.
How are you today? Are you all set for me?
I'm all ready.
Okay, sorry about the little miscue with the phone there. This is going to be recorded, and I'll play it back, when we give away some copies of the book.
Beautiful.
Good, man, good. Okay, let me make sure I have the tape rolling here. Check, check, check. I just got done with an interview of a roller derby queen who is skating in Ventura tomorrow in a big tournament. So,
Well, this might not be as exciting as that, but
it's a tough act to follow, And she told me they wear fishnets and little mini skirts. So,
Now, where is this, Ventura?
Yeah, Ventura. They're doing a big roller derby tournament all day tomorrow. Who knew roller derby was back? Okay, all right. Well, let's see if we got things on the line. We got everything lined up here for Mr. Randy Poe, who has written the finest book, probably the definitive book on Southern rocker Duane Allman. Hi, Randy.
Hey, how are you, Perry?
I'm all right, man. And the title, Sky Dog, the Duane Allman story, could you tell us what the Sky Dog means?
Well, Skydog was Duane's nickname, which he acquired through the merging of a couple of nicknames that he had. When he was in a band called the Hourglass here in L.A. back in the 60s, every member of the band had an animal nickname for some reason. I guess it was of the era. And he was Dog, because if you ever saw pictures of Duane, he kind of looked like an Afghan hound. And, well, his face, anyway.
He kind of had those sideburns that came down.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
The mutton chops.
Right.
And then when he went down to Muscle Shoals a couple of years later to be a studio guitarist there at the one of the recording studios there in town, he was doing a session with Wilson Pickett, and Wilson Pickett called him the Sky Man. I think because he saw Duane as someone who was up a little high most of the time.
Uh-huh.
And at some point, the two just seemed to have merged, and Sky Dog he became.
Okay, and going back to the Muscle Shoals thing, because you grew up in Muscle Shoals, and I won't ruin it for everybody, but there is an outstanding prologue in this book where you talk about the first time you ever heard Duane Allman. And, man, you know what? I read that, and I got chills reading that.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's nice to hear.
That's a very good story, and I won't ruin it for folks, but it's in the very opening of the book, and Randy goes into talking about how when he was just not even a teenager, heard Duane Allman play, and hey, kind of set the stage for this book that's out now in paperback for the first time. When did you first write, and how long did it take to write this book, Randy?
Well, I have this day job, and so when I write, I have the wonderful writing hours of midnight to 4 a.m. I don't recommend this to anybody.
Yeah.
But I wrote it over the course of a couple of years, and the reason that it took that long was because, of course, I was doing it in the middle of the night. Plus, there were an awful lot of people to interview. This was the first time that a lot of people who knew Duane in his childhood and teenage years were ever interviewed for a book. And so I got a lot of inside information about Duane and his youth and the kind of character that he was. He was a pretty fascinating guy.
Did you reveal anything? Did you find out anything new to yourself or new about anything revealed about Duane's life or his death or both?
Well, as far as his character in general, people told me that he was an extremely charismatic guy, even as a young guy. They said that he was the kind of cat that when he walked in the room, everybody shut up, all eyes went to him. And I've been in a room with former President Clinton once, and so I understand what that is. There's just an aura about some people that's just unbelievable. Elvis had that apparently as well, but he had an awful lot of charisma, and he also just had a leadership quality which drew people to him as musicians. They just wanted to be in on the session with Duane because he had something special.
That's very cool. I've interviewed Greg on several occasions, and I was told from the very get-go, from the start, that is one topic that you just don't bring up with Greg, that he's still extremely, as you can imagine, extremely sensitive about his brother Duane and his tragic death.
I'll tell you, I don't mean to interrupt, but when I interviewed Greg, it's not a topic I discussed with him either. I talked to Greg about their growing up together, because that was the part that most people don't know, and the reason is because no one had ever asked him before. Because it just everything I'd ever read about Duane, the starting point was always when he was about 8 or 9 years old, maybe even a little older, going to Castle Heights Military Academy in Lebanon, Tennessee. And when I talked to Greg, I said, well, it's not like you guys started school when you were in the 5th grade.
Yeah, right.
Tell me about what went on before then. And so he told me great stories about growing up in Nashville and the two of them and the trouble they would get into and that sort of thing. It just and I could tell he was really enjoying reliving that part of his brother's life. I understand.
And this is all in the book, Skydog, the Duane Allman story. Written by Randy Poe. Hey, look at the forward. Look who you got to write the forward. That's pretty impressive. Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top.
Yeah, Billy is a great guy. I went to him. You know, there were several people that kind of made sense, but to me, Billy made the most sense because Billy had been on tour with the Allman Brothers Band in ZZ Top's early days. He had had some kind of unique experiences on that tour, and also I love the way Billy writes. He writes and talks exactly the same way, which is unlike any of the rest of us.
Right. I read a few paragraphs of his introduction. It's pretty good. Yeah. Well, there is a fascination, I don't know, with these guys that were so brilliant and left so soon. Jim Morrison and Brian Jones and Syd Barrett of Pink Floyd, Duane Allman, all these guys. And there's just a fascination with with stuff that we just never knew about these guys.
Yeah, well, Syd Barrett, he left us, but he didn't. That was one of the fascinations of Pink Floyd. Was here was this fascinating character and incredible talent, and he just faded away. And there have been a couple of very fascinating books written about him because he was a unique character too. But Duane, he was one of those who lived right on the edge, and ultimately paid the consequences of that. From the time he was a kid, he was doing things that made his friends very nervous as far as how fast he would ride his motorcycle, climbing up on top of a building and then climbing on the top of the Christmas tree that was on top of the building and hanging off the edge, things that you just don't do. and one of his friends that he went to high school with said, if somebody had invented bungee jumping during Duane's lifetime, Duane would have said, hey, let me be the one to try it out first.
That's great, man. I can't wait to read more of this, man. I want to take home a copy and buy a copy for myself. Skydog, the Duane Allman story by Randy Poe, out on Backbeat Books and expanded and updated for the very first time out in paperback, too, with the foreword by Billy Gibbons, and just a lot of great stories in there. Randy, fine job.
Thanks so much.
All right, man. Well, shoot, is there any, you told some great stories there. I've got so much material here that I can use. I love the stories about him, the climbing on the Christmas tree and stuff. Yeah, I just brought up Syd Barrett because I'd recently read a couple of, the recently updated bio of him that was updated after he died. Strange cat. That's good. I had Alice Cooper on the air the other day talking about, I don't know how we got on the subject, but he had hosted the Pink Floyd at his house in L.A. back in the late 60s, and he said he would sit around the breakfast table with Syd for an entire week and watch Syd see things on the cornflakes box, like you were watching TV, Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, Randy, it's really good to talk to you, man. I'm serious. I want to take home this book and read some more of it because I love this kind of stuff, so...
Okay, well, if you get a chance, if you throw it in there somewhere, the website is skydogbook.com.
Yes, I see that. I see that at the bottom of the press release here, skydogbook.com from Jenna Young, who is Jenna is a fabulous person for being so organized and everything on this. This is great. All right, well, you know what? I will air this next week. The book is out, and it came out on the 1st, right?
Right.
Yeah, in paperback. Right. Yeah, okay. All right, well, I will air this interview in segments next week when we give away the copies of the book she sent us.
Fantastic.
Good deal.
I appreciate it.
Well, Randy, nice job on that, man. I wish you all the luck in the future with your writing and everything. It's quite a job.
Thanks so much.
Any other projects for Randy? What is your daytime job?
Oh, I run the Lieber and Stoller's publishing company.
Oh, yeah, it said that on here. Right. Well, geez, yeah, that is a day job. Golly. All right, so you working on any new books right now?
Yep. The next one is the authorized biography of Buck Owens.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be driving up past you on the way to Bakersfield.
Yeah, you will be up to what the hell are those call letters up there of that station?
KUZ. Well, Buck owns the KUZZ.
That's right. Yeah. Good old Bakersfield. Well, all right, Randy Poe. Thanks again, man.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, take care. Okay.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.